And now, our feature presentation.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of It Sure Is a Podcast. Your boy Eric here, still begging you all for money. With me, as always, the creator and founder of this enterprise, the very talented Mr. Brandon.
Glad to be here. Glad Yeah, I'm glad to be here on my own podcast. I wasn't kicked out or didn't disappear or anything. Nice to be here.
We got some fun topics today. One's going to be obviously an original. We've talked about it, but a little bit of news about it. So I think it's fair. We'll bring it back up. But just want to let you know I'm still reeling from last week. Your episode or your answer about plank. I've never heard such a thought out, like soul searching answer. I don't think I will ever look at planks of wood the same again. Wow, you must have had that question before, because that was like a dissertation.
I honestly, that when I got that question when I was in college, and in college, that's when you're soul searching, that's when you're figuring yourself out. And I actually did a little bit of a stint with the monks out in Idaho, where I kind of searched for myself spiritually, and that's where I came to that realization for that answer.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard the last episode, it's in the very last couple minutes, but go ahead and go listen to Brandon's answer about you'll know what we talked about, but
you'll know. But yeah, that was kind of just a big thing that kind of just changed the whole trajectory of just the podcast forever, I think.
It really did. I don't think I'll ever be the same.
Yeah, well, like right now, we're not even in the small storage room anymore. We're actually just hanging out in front of a giant hearthstone with a fireplace, and we're both in big chairs, and we have like people serving us drinks, like the thing I drank at the beginning. Yeah, everything's different now. No, we're still in the storage room. But everything is different still.
It is. But hopefully soon this will be an office, so we'll have a little bit more of a setup, because I just need to not be lazy anymore. We also need the weather to not suck.
And today's been a lazy day for me. I've just been super lazy, but it's been nice. It's been a nice lazy.
We've been pretty bad this week. It's been Kate's on call, which is always horrible for her because it just sucks.
Yeah, it just kind of absorbs the entire week.
It really does. My work hasn't been okay. It's been truly awful, but in the sense that they have me doing everything I hate to do and everything that I feel I shouldn't have to, because I'm not a manager or a supervisor. Like the people that I just hired and I have to train and I have to tell them everything how to do and blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And we have the same title. And now I have to train a whole other department on. Anyway, long story short, it's been a long week and we've been bad. So I think I might annoy Kate because I got to do some grocery shopping later and I might come back with more food and booze. And she's already mad. Because she's been working so hard on exercising and eating right.
And you're showing up with the bad food or the booed. You almost said earlier.
I definitely said booed.
Booed.
We're busy men. I gotta save time. Booze and food. Booed.
Booze and food is booed. I really like that. You know, hey, I'm gonna go out and get some booed. You want anything? And they're like, wait, what? And yeah, booed. Get some booed.
Are you saying food? Are you saying booty? Like, what are you?
Are you cheating on me? Yeah. I was like, no, it's food and booze. It's booed.
But I've also learned that it's easier to, beg forgiveness than ask permission. So I might just do it.
Oh, that is the creed I live by, especially with work. I'm sitting there and I think, can I do this? And then I thought about it. I'm like, well, no one said no. And I mean, they can't fire me if I never knew and it was never explicitly told to me. So I'm going to do it. And then I'll ask for forgiveness later.
I know next week is going to be an awful week because I haven't even started all my training stuff. So I might just, I might just do some bad stuff this weekend.
Bad stuff like eat bad food and drink things.
Yeah.
Yes, good. Okay.
Because I'm gonna hit it hard next week. I got to try to do some overtime. I'm doing a let's call it a physical activity thing later in the year. I almost said the name of it, but
okay, that marathon run thing that you do. Okay,
and
the way you said that, I was sitting there and I'm like, I don't like how you're wording that. I don't like that one bit.
Are you
just saying you're like gonna bang? Like, it's okay, you can openly say that, but later in the year, like, what?
Oh no, I'm married. That's not something.
Oh yeah, that's right. Once you get married, that's not something you do. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I lost like 5-6 pounds just from changing my diet. And
there you go. Awesome, dude.
It's being kept off. So now I actually just have to start exercising and drop some more weight and, get in shape a little bit.
Get in shape, lift those dumbbells, do that keto, enter ketosis.
I don't think I could do keto again. I actually personally loved it because it was all the foods I like to eat.
I'm
also will be dead by 50 because I have really bad cholesterol, so everything I ate was just horrible for my heart.
Oh, yeah, you get over that. My heart used to thump all the time like I was, and I wouldn't do anything, and I'm just sitting there, it's like boom, boom, boom. And,
that is the scariest thing ever.
And it's like it's beating so hard that even your peripherals are slightly vibrating. You're like, is this panic attack?
You're getting a little bit of a tunnel vision, and you're like, I think I'm about to have a heart attack.
Yeah, it's like, I think I might not, maybe I should eat a piece of bread and even this out. But, that doesn't happen anymore. That was a huge thing, but it doesn't happen anymore.
You also eat healthy. I ate healthy to hit ketosis. And you can do that very easily, but not very healthy. And that's what I did. So I lost like 30 pounds. I also was going to be dead in a month. And then we stopped, and I gained all the weight back. So.
Oh yeah, my fear is that the second I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna just have a little bit of a treat day, and I'm just gonna eat like a sandwich from like a restaurant or something, right? Mm-hmm. And like as soon as I bite into it, I just inflate like Nutty Professor style, like
Who's that girl, the blueberry girl from?
Violet, yeah.
Yeah, just poof.
And then it's like, Violet's turning violet. Yeah, just inflate like that. That is my fear. That is my fear.
For yourself and anybody who does keto, you're probably aware of it. You are supposed to have cheat days every once in a while to like help reset your system, so it doesn't get too used to it.
Oh.
You are supposed to give it a little bit of a reboot every once in a while.
Oh, maybe I should do that.
I mean, if it's working for you, I wouldn't worry about it, but that's what we were, when we were doing it. It was like every once in a while, you might want to you kind of like shock your system by having carbs and stuff, and then you go back into it. It revamps and helps you lose more weight.
Huh.
But you also are exercising a lot more than we did, so.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I'm gonna look that up just because. I mean,
don't take my word for it. Make sure it's real. But that's what I read.
Keto. I mean, any diet affects anyone differently, and keto is like now studies are showing that women probably shouldn't do keto just because of all the hormones, baby making potential, all that stuff. It could be a shock to the system that could be bad
if they're in ketosis and
that's what they didn't really explain fully, but they were just explaining a lot of different hormone levels. If you're planning to have a kid, it can mess something up. But also, there's different perspectives on all this stuff all the time. It also
sucks sorry, ladies out there, you all got the short end of the stick on everything. Just naturally, they have more fat tissue with,
yes,
being moms and everything. They need that. If you're going to have a diet that's high in fat, I don't know. It works for losing weight. Like I said, me and Kate lost more than I did when we were on it. But
really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, this was years ago. But the second we stopped, again...
It all comes right back. That's what it does.
It flew back on. So now, she's great. She exercises an hour or two a day. Yeah. Cardio, yoga, all that. I don't. I'm fat. I come home and she's like, you should do yoga with me. And I'm like... Or I could start a new file on Borderlands 2 and watch you do yoga.
Yeah. Or that yoga's not. It's not bad. I'm not going to say it's not bad.
She does it more. I'm sorry, I am mixing. She doesn't do it as an exercise. She does the bike and the elliptical. She just does yoga because it helps her like stay loose and limber.
Oh yeah, and it's also good for just stretching and just being able to.
It's working for her. She's looking good. I'm looking like a fat crap husband. And I'm just like, hey, guys, you want to see my hot wife? She's smarter than me. She's hotter than me. She makes more money than me.
Well, I feel like that should be the thing, that the woman always wants to be the pretty one, right?
It also made me laugh. Somebody asked me one time, in all seriousness, they're like, are you threatened? Like, do you find it weird that your wife, like, has a better job and makes more money? And I just kind of stared at him. I was like, it's one of the most attractive things about her because she could kick me to the curb at any time if she wanted, and she hasn't done it yet. And you want to tell me, am I threatened by a rich, hot woman? No. Every day, but that's part of the allure.
But that is part of the allure that, you are on a thin line.
Exactly. I am scared and kind of turned on at all times.
Man, I think you got a little bit of a sadist
you really don't want to go into that. If I ever go back into therapy, they are in for just a whirlwind.
They're like writing on their notepad, like, this guy's playing nuts. Like, when they write down notes and just like jot it down there.
As a child, were you ever, like, taken advantage of by an older, like, dominatrix or something? You got some weird fantasies up in here, man.
And you're just like, no, it's just...
I'd be like, actually, my love life has been rather boring in that terms of, like, stuff like that.
Rather vanilla, if you will. But vanilla is a wonderful flavor. According to... Oh, crap.
No one?
What is it? No, according to... What's that song? Is it Bare Naked Ladies?
Oh, I have
1 week. That one, it's been 1 week since you looked at me.
Oh, that's Bare Naked Ladies?
I think so.
I don't know. I don't know crap about music.
All right, hold on. I have it in my playlist right now. I'm going to look it up just because I was literally listening to it on the way here. It's been one. There it is. Is it Bare Naked Ladies? Yep, I was right.
All right.
And you know what the best thing about it is? Like, all right, the app I use is YouTube Music because Google Music switched over to that and whatever. Right.
Oh.
So when you look up 1 week Bare Naked Ladies, the funniest thing is the album it comes from is from the Digimon movie.
Wait. They made that song?
No. That song, I'm pretty sure that song existed before then.
Okay.
But yeah, the only album you can find for it on the app is from the Digimon movie.
That's awesome.
It's kind of just hilarious.
Fun weird fact about the Digimon movie. I never watched Digimon. I never saw any of the games, any of the TV shows. I never had any experience with it ever until one day my friend and I got really stoned. I think we were in high school. And he was just like, yo, you ever seen the Digimon movie? And I was like, I have never in my life done anything with Digimon. He's like, dude, it's not even about the movie. They have the most epic soundtrack ever.
Do.
And we just got stoned and watched it to listen to the music. And he was like, by the end, I was like, I can't believe it. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy ripped from the Digimon movie about having an awesome soundtrack.
That is so true. It did. The Digimon movie, the one that we got here in the West, is actually 3 movies jammed into one. That's why there's the 3 different time periods with the 3 different kind of groups of kids.
I wasn't kidding about being stoned.
Yeah,
I know
you weren't.
I just remember watching them all evolve and change, and I was like, yo, this is way better than Pokemon. They got like 17 forms.
They really do.
And they just get bigger and look more like dinosaurs every time.
And I saw someone compare Pokemon and Digimon drawings. Like, Pokemon, it's like a cool design. It's based off of the culture that the region's based in. It's based off of an idea, a concept, right? And they're explaining all this. And then Digimon just like, make it cooler, just tape guns and knives to it. And that's really what happens. The more Digimon evolves, like, I definitely know Impmon digivolves into, I forget his name, but he's just a biker with a shotgun. That's what he...
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what he digivolves into, is a biker with a shotgun. He has a bike that appears from somewhere. He has a leather jacket and a shotgun.
Assless chaps?
I wish assless chaps, but no. Alright, so last time my buddy and I were talking about this. So we're talking about Lady Devimon, right? And that was your last Smash question I asked you last week of Lady Devimon. Remember that?
Oh, she was the kind of like freaky looking giant hook hand.
Yeah, and it was like all like goth, like pretty much goth. Like, yeah, I forgot to mention Digimon don't have genders. all of them are...
I mean, that's not going to stop me.
Yeah, no, not at all. My buddy and I were talking about it, and it was like, so if they don't technically have genders, do they even have reproductive parts? Or is it just... You know what I mean? Then we got into a really long discussion just about figuring out what the heck. She had
the
breasts.
Upper portion, so I'm gonna assume that there's something down there.
Yeah, and in any of the like those drawings, there's just that. Because I don't know if you ever noticed this, and I went to art school once upon a time. Is like when you draw a female character, depending what you're, how do I put this? Depending how you're drawing the character, sometimes it's distinguished, by the breast that it's a female, but also like for guys, there isn't anything in the groin area to signify that there's a dick there, right? But with girls, there's just this little U that they just put there. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Now that I'm thinking back on like a lot of the animes and cartoons I've watched, yes.
Yeah.
What wouldn't you would think it would be like the opposite, wouldn't you?
Like
you would have that little bulge for guys and then women it should be?
I don't think so, because that would be assuming that, guys are above average in size, and no guy in cartoons is above average in size, apparently.
Yeah, but like women, it's not protruding.
Mm-mm. Yeah, it's not, but that's just the style of it. It just I definitely remember we had a school day where that's what we talked about, and it was just like our one teacher just had the bottom half of characters, and he's like, which one's the girl? And like guys like some kid in the class was like, that one. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Why? And we're just like, well, we're all stopped and we're like,
she's popping it, man.
Yeah, she's like,
I just can't.
She's like, why am I the only person in here popping my pussy? Right? And and then we had a whole discussion on that. And you never thought of that until...
I never did until you mentioned that. And I was like, they really do that.
Now when you see characters, like cartoon characters, anime characters, you're going to start to notice.
Yeah, Kate's going to think I'm Sherry thinks I'm weird, but I'm really pausing stuff. I'm going to be like, see? It's protruding out. That's not right. Shouldn't it be reversed? And she's just going to look at me and be like, you are...
She's like, what is wrong with you?
Why are you looking at the genitalia of animated characters? I don't know.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to. Yeah, thank you for this drink, by the way. This is... I couldn't imagine drinking one of these bubblies and, not burping. And I know people try it, and they just feel uncomfortable the whole time.
Yeah, just let it out.
Yeah, because it's that function. That's why you burp.
You actually can mess yourself up, guys. Let the gases out. It can hurt you.
The gases out. Let them out. Just front end, back end, whatever end you need.
Coming out all ends.
All ends. Ears, nose, eyeballs. Oh my gosh, what if you farted out your eyeballs?
That'd be terrifying.
That would be terrifying.
Also, I'm totally ripping this, so again, I will say it's from another podcast, TMG.
Ripping. Fart.
Okay, that was... damn it, I wish that was intentional. That would have been a good one.
The good ones are never intentional.
But just to derail us even further, again, I'm stealing this bit, but it really did make me think. They said it as a joke, but I was like, man, that'd be weird. While also talking about people's bodies... What if for guys, if you, when you see somebody you find attractive and certain, bodily functions happen, what if it wasn't just your genitalia that grew? What if it was, somewhere else? What if every time you got attracted by someone, your nose or ears got real big? Something super noticeable.
Oh.
So they could look at you and they'd be like, ah! And you're just like, no, wait, I'm sorry. It's just natural. I didn't mean it
I'm sorry, it's been so long since I've, seen a girl with a great personality and a dump truck ass.
Well, think about it in high school, how rough it was just to, you'd hold the books in front of you as you're walking around. You could kind of get away with it.
Well, that was a time when your body was just giving you boners randomly.
Yeah, but imagine, like I said, your ears or your eyes or something, just ballooned up, and everybody's like, oh.
So here's a boner, and then that kid's ear starts swelling too, and he's like, oh, damn it.
He's like, oh, wait, what? Am I turned on by his boner?
Am I gay? Oh, no. I distinctly remember just a lot of times in high school, I'd just be sitting there just tired, not paying attention. ADHD, I'm just in my own little world, and then just get a boner. But, in my own little world, I wasn't sitting there thinking about anything like that.
No, you're just 14,
I was just sitting there
and you, again, I think I've made this joke before, but when you're 14, you would make love to a fire hydrant because it looks like a boob, and your mind is just puberty was rough.
I'm pretty sure, honestly, thinking about it now, I'm pretty sure what I was thinking about is like drawings I did of like characters or like what am I doing when I get home? What game am I going to play? Right? That kind of stuff. And I just sat there and I was just like, and then it would happen. And then I'm just like, oh no.
And then
I have a boner. And then the teacher's like, Brandy, can you come to the front of the room to like write this down on the board, do this question? And you're like, do you
have cameras under the desk or something? How do you know every time to pick me when the one time you can't pick me?
And it's not one of those situations where you can slap it into the waistband and go walk around.
I did like the hunched over walk up to
the hunched over walk. And like once you get up there and like once you get moving and you realize your situation, your predicament, because you don't want to elude that I'm sitting here behind this desk with a boner. You don't want to let anyone know about that. So you're like, all right, I'm just going to get up and we're just going to go with it.
You're just like, I'm just going to like try to wiggle, just keep walking up.
And then that thing just retracts in your body like a turtle's head into a shell. Just like, all right, we're getting out of here. We're not supposed to be here right now.
Yeah, the fear, just wow.
The fear,
Thank God I'm an old man now. Being a teenager was truly awful.
Like looking at it now, oh my gosh, the depraved things I did and would think of because the hormones were all out of whack.
You ever go up to... I had to go up to our local mall recently for a few things. It's something specific. I can't remember what. Actually, you might have been there with us. Yeah, we were just going there.
That was when we were all there together.
You see all those teenagers walking around and just... is it just you? I look at them, I'm like, God, I hope I wasn't that cringy. But then at the same time... I'm like, I know I was, and I don't want to think about that portion of my life.
Do not think about that, because that's the stuff that will keep you up at night. It's one of those situations where you're about to fall asleep, and you just have this memory just gets shocked in your brain that says, hey, remember that one time...
that you did this truly awful and or embarrassing and or stupid thing, and you're like, yes, I remember. Now I'm going to stay up for the next 4 hours, get 2 hours of sleep, and then go to work tomorrow, angry and embarrassed, and I don't even know why.
And you literally sit there and just think about that person that engagement happened with, and you're like,
God, I hope I never see them again.
You hope you never see them again, or if you do, what is the apology you're going to bring up? And you like bring it up. If that were to happen, you're like, I'm so sorry about that one thing, and you explain it in detail, and they're like, I don't even remember what you're talking about.
And you're just like, oh, great. So now I have to relive it because I just explained to you in detail what I did.
Yes. Glad we're out of puberty, old, and just...
Thank God for alcohol and short-term memory loss.
Yes. Yes. That is the upside of having ADHD and, not being able to keep track of things in your brain. So let's get on with today.
Oh, yeah. After
this whole rant, let's get on with today. So... last week when I talked to you, you said you beat Warhammer 40k Space Marine, right?
For Xbox 360. Such a good game.
And that really spurred my imagination to start thinking like, you know what? We should just do a basic overview of Warhammer and just Warhammer 40k specifically because there's two different versions.
That was one of my big questions.
And I've made notes with quotes and...
Wow, I am truly impressed that you can do this for the... I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read a couple articles and stuff about it. And
you said that. I'm like, I got this covered. Just don't worry about it.
I'm already done. I already have a 4-page paper written up. We're good.
It's 3, but yes.
But still,
that's still a lot. And also, I think it will answer some of the questions for you that you may have completing Space Marine because it doesn't explain it as well as it could. About some of the characters in there and why some of the things happened in the game.
Why do they get the baby blue armor when that black armor at the end for the Inquisitor's troops was so freaking cool?
Yes.
Or the blood red armor from those other Space Marines?
Yes.
Why are you giving me baby blue?
All right, we will talk about that. So before we get started, a lot of this information, I did research, but a lot of this information was kind of guided to me by we talked about him before, a YouTuber named Bricky, just Brick with a Y on the end. He does a review of, or just analysis or overview of Warhammer 40k factions. And it was a good kind of baby's first steps into it before we got into other stuff. So I just want to throw it out there that if you are interested in this and you really want to look into more of it, Bricky is a good place to start because he just has every Warhammer 40k faction explained video. There's 2 of them, and actually we're just going to do a part 1 on this because this is just about all the humans there's a lot of other races, and that takes even longer than this. And I was like,
demons,
orcs, demons. Yeah, we will get to that. So to start everything off, Warhammer. Why reason it's called Warhammer 40k, because the year is 40,000 AD. That's why they call it that. And then there's just Warhammer. It all takes place in the same universe, but it's just
40,000 years.
Yeah, Warhammer just takes place in a kind of medieval fantasy time, and then Warhammer 40k takes place 40,000 years in the future. Okay, so
man, and humans didn't wipe themselves out yet?
No.
Kind of surprised.
No. Wow. Yeah. And this universe is very dark. It is very depressing. Everything is just a constant. How do I put it? Everything only exists for the constant perpetuation of war with all these different factions fighting each other, vying for control. It's almost like, you know that one kid in high school that would sit in the back of the classroom and like draw those pictures in his notebook that like you'd walk by him and it'd be concerning and very edgy. You know what I'm talking about? Probably listen to a lot of Limp Bizkit. Yeah. So imagine just someone like that made an entire fantasy world, sci-fi fantasy world.
Why is it cool? Why is Warhammer 40k so cool? That universe is awesome, but the kid who was expressing himself through those drawings in the back of the classroom was like creepy.
That I don't know, and I'm not going to break that down and do a psychological analysis of it, because that's another rabbit trail, and I have 3 pages to get through. So I'm going to start off with a quote from the God Emperor that kind of rules over Earth. Well, all right, we'll get into that, and I'm going to try to do a dramatic reading. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and the master of 1,000,000 worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for who 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim dark future there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. I'm actually impressed I didn't stumble over any words there.
It was very good reading. Quick question. It said for more than 100 centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that 10,000 years?
Yes.
Oh, and 40,000 years. Okay. All right. My math mind was getting a little. So he's dead, but they're sacrificing thousands a day to keep him alive.
Yes. So let's talk about that. So humanity in the Warhammer universe is
stupid,
very xenophobic, prejudiced, and along the lines of religious zealotness, if that's a word. And they kill each other just as easy as they kill anyone who threatens them. And so in this universe, I want you to take the perspective that everyone is a villain. No one is a good guy. Even the humans are bad guys. The elves are bad guys, especially the elves. The elves are messed up.
Oh, I didn't get to see the elves in.
There were no elves in there. The elves, they're not really represented, but when we do the next episode, you'll understand why they're not represented a lot, because you dance on a line that you're like, am I crossing the line? Am I not crossing the line?
We're gonna cross that line.
Yeah. Orcs, demons, Tyranids, everyone's a bad guy. No one's good, and it's just a perpetual war against each other. Okay. So all humanity is considered under the Imperium of Man. And the God Emperor, which I did not write down his name because I'm dumb, but 10,000 years ago, the God Emperor, he was a psyker. And a psyker is someone who has the ability to interact and pull energy as like in a form of magic almost from the warp. Now the warp, to give you some context, I bring it up later, but I'm going to tell it now. Oh, it's right here. It is a purgatory dimension, but it's really just considered space hell. Now psychers have the ability to pull from that dimension and manipulate that power, kind of. However, every time you pull power from hell, sometimes somebody might get a little tainted, and sometimes somebody might want to do some bad stuff.
So the warp is almost like, I'm trying to make my own equivalents, like Ethereum or Aetherius in like the Skyrim world. That's like the magical plane. It's basically what it is for them. It's like, it's where they can draw magic from.
Yes,
but it's evil, basically.
Yes, it's evil. They pull magic from it, and this is how I understand it. But also they, at the same time of pulling magic from it, like you kind of open yourself up to the suggestion of demons and the 4 demon gods. But like I said, we won't get into those today. Yeah. So the God Emperor was a psyker, and he was so good at what he did, pretty much he became this God King. Everyone revered him, right? And the Emperor created, and I emphasize, created a bunch of sons, 18 to be exact, and these sons kind of ruled over the different chapters of the Imperium of Man. Like, the Imperium of Man is the umbrella term for all humanity, but then it breaks down in these different chapters, different sects, different clans, however you want to put it, different groups of people, and all did very different things. So this kind of led to eventually the Horus heresy, where one of the 18 sons, Horus, was corrupted by chaos. That's what that's the term they call when you're corrupted by the warp, right?
When you go mad with power and turn into a demon.
And like, all right, in Space Marine, do you went out with those Chaos Marines showed up?
Yeah, that kept throwing me off. I was like, they look like me, but they're not.
They're Marines that were manipulated and twisted by the warp. So that's why they're called Chaos Marines. And they're all like, yeah, all the stuff that you believe ain't true. The god over here, Korn, is pretty awesome, and we're going to hang with him. That is one of the gods.
I don't blame them because, like you said, humans were kind of dicks in that game.
Oh, yeah, they're very... And, yeah, and...
Never trust in anybody with an Eam-over, and that Inquisitor dude had the Eam-over.
Yes, and I have a whole section at the end about Inquisitor, so you'll understand where that Inquisitor was coming from. So, all right, so the Horus Heresy was when Horus, and pretty much, it was, well, okay, so it was 8 other sons all joined forces and attacked the God King, the God Emperor, right? He was able to fight them back, however... He actually killed all 8 of them, but he was mortally wounded to the point where he died. However, so he didn't technically die, but it's one of those things where it's like he was on his deathbed. He was at whatever afterlife's door, and they were just like, no, we got to keep him alive. So they strap him down to what they call the Golden Throne. And they just jam all these wires into him to make him stay alive. The reason they make him stay alive is because how space travel works in this universe is that they have to travel into the warp. It's kind of like, you wouldn't know this, but maybe for listeners, whenever you go into the netherworld in Minecraft, you can get across the overworld a lot faster. Because when you go to the netherworld, it's like the underworld. So you can travel like 100 miles by only going 50 miles in the underworld, and then you put a portal down and you'll pop up 100 miles on the surface. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like instead of walking across a piece of paper, if you fold it in half, it's a shorter distance to get to the same destination.
Exactly. That's exactly what they do.
Just so you know, that's kind of how the warp speed works in Halo.
Yes. Just so you know. And the God Emperor had the ability to teach everyone that, but his existence was also a key in navigating the warp, because every time a ship goes into the warp, he guides you through it, and it's just like, oh, just go here. Here's your beacon. And no one necessarily tried to figure out or learn how he did that, so that's why they keep him alive. And the only way to keep him alive is they have to sacrifice 1,000 souls a day
to keep him alive.
To keep space travel happening.
10,000 years to figure this out.
Yes.
And other races already know how to do it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, this whole universe is such in a constant state of battle that they don't necessarily progress. Like in that beginning quote that I wrote, I didn't write, jeez. I wrote down, the forgotten power of technology and science. There's so much that has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Everything is just working well enough that, and since they're in such a state of conflict, they don't have time to learn about it. Their entire existence is built around combat and fighting each other and all these other aliens. So we'll get down later in this, and it will really show you that point even more clearly on how one of these guys pretty much, how they handle their troops. I'll just say that. So, Emperor requires 1,000 souls a day to stay alive so he can guide the interstellar travel, and if he dies, no one can interstellar travel. No human can interstellar travel. No hopping through the warp or anything. And if you don't believe in the Emperor, you are considered a heretic, and you will be killed immediately. Like, there is no trial. There's no nothing. It's just like, oh, you said you don't think, our God Emperor is the God Emperor? Okay. Like, you have the right to pull out a pistol and just blow him in the head, and they're like, what happened? And they're like, he said the God Emperor wasn't a God Emperor, and they're like, oh, all right.
That just opens up so many scenarios.
It certainly does. So
I like that guy's wife. He's a heretic.
Exactly. And then it's like, hey, baby, your husband was a heretic. He told me. And she's like, that's terrible.
Unless you want to be a heretic, too, maybe you should kind of like me back.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, just imagine that in, high school.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is for as bad as the universe, this particular universe is, I can't believe it's not worse.
Yeah. So
I guess outside threats, maybe.
And I really hope I kind of set it up right and didn't get it confusing for anyone. In the warp, I will jump back to this real quick. This Force of the Chaos. There's 4 gods, and it's not like in some fantasy where there's a variety of gods, or even folklore. There's a variety of gods for different things. There's the god of death. There's the god of this. There's the god of that specifically. No, these 4 gods are, so in the Christian faith, it's everything evil is summed up into Satan, right? This is just 4 Satans. They just have ways they like to be evil in. It's just, they're just...
kind of like Diablo-ish, like the 7 Lords of Hell or something.
Yes.
They're all evil, it's just, they're evil in different ways.
Well, it's not even different ways. It's just they have a very specific way they like to be evil. It's not like they are the god. It is listed it's the god of this, the god of that, but they all kind of have the same power, right? There's no I can't do that because I'm just the god of death. No, they all have the same power and ability. They just like
personal
some things.
Interests.
Yes, personal interests. They have hobbies. Let's say that. They have hobbies. So, oh, and the God Emperor, the funny thing about that is what they call the method that he uses to help ships travel through the warp is called the Astronomicon. I always just think that's really funny.
They like to put Nomicon or Omicon on a lot of their stuff.
Nomicon.
Yeah. Nomicon. That's their cafeteria.
That is the cafeteria, right in the warp, right in hell. So let's get into all the different factions of the human race. It kind of sets up the world. So Imperial Guard. This is the main fighting force, standard people. And the funniest thing about it is they carry the las gun. The las gun is pretty much, it's like a hot glue gun that has been amplified and can burn, immediately holes through walls, can just blow people up, blow monsters up. Then if we're comparing it to our standards, what we know, right? that sounds really powerful, right? Like
Yeah,
a laser gun that just pew and just someone blows up in a bunch of chunks.
Yeah, that was like a pea shooter in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, that is considered the weakest weapon in Warhammer 40k. It is the weakest. Like the bolter, the pistol, the melt-a-gun, all those are like steps above, but there's even more intense stuff that they got.
Yeah, like that hammer.
Yeah, I love that hammer.
Was freaking sweet.
I always ran around with the hammer. That was my thing.
Sorry, guys, I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about this. I'm going off of the Space Marine video game for the 360.
Right, yeah, the game. And that's why I wanted to do this, because after we go through all this, then we'll chat about the video game. Okay, so let's go to Space Marines. So Space Marines, you played as Ultramarine in Warhammer 40k Space Marine. It's such a long title, but I don't want to just say Space Marine, because, I don't know, someone might be like, what game was it again?
Yeah.
You just said Space Marine. They are genetically engineered. They have extra organs. They create no waste at all. They barely need food, if ever, depending on their gene seed and how they were made, because certain ones don't require to eat.
So they're not born. They're actually like grown in a lab style type of...
Yes, and the genes come from one of the 18 sons.
Well, 10 now.
Yeah, 10 now after all that. But there are still gene seeds of...
The others?
The others, and they're actually kind of considered outcasts. But, like, they still follow the Emperor and do what he says, but it's like, oh, you're a gene seed of Horus. We don't like you.
Okay. I mean, if you're genetically engineered, I could see how you would still be made to, like, brainwashed and follow the Emperor and all that.
Yes, but... yeah. They have hardened skin. And like I said, they don't create no waste. They have no genitals. There's no intents for them to reproduce.
This is probably going to get covered later, but for my own, the God Emperor, is he actually communicating with people, or is he, like, comatose at this point?
He's comatose.
So it's being run by other people. He's just kind of like... the heart, if you will.
Yeah, he kind of set up the framework for the society, and then once he died, over time things twisted and changed, and the world that is the world of Warhammer 40k right now is probably not the world that, this guy envisioned.
Okay, so he himself isn't like an evil dude, because that's why I thought he's like got his fingers in everything and he's running all of this, but no, he's like an actual, like a human heart, like the Imperium can't survive without him, but he's not conscious. He's just kind of there.
Yeah, he's just there. They just have to give him 1,000 souls a day so they can, do stuff in the warp and warp around. And if you don't keep him alive... So he's like alive forever, comatose forever. And his body is like a lot of depictions on the Golden Throne. His body is rotted away. There's like rotting meat, and he's just like wired to this throne.
Xenon the Antiquarian. From Dragon... Oh, did you get to Dragon Age 2 yet?
I do. I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's like a rotting corpse sitting in a chair, but he talks. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, as soon as you said that, I was trying to think, was that Dragon Age 1 or 2? Yeah. So here is a comment from the Emperor, a quote, about the Space Marines. And, all of them. Okay. They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give of themselves to me. Like clay I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war forge them. They will be of iron will and steely muscle. In great armor shall I clad them, and with the mightiest guns they will be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease. They also can't get sick by anything. No sickness will blight them. They will have tactics, strategies, and machines so that no foe can best them in battle. They are my bulwark against the terror. They are the defenders of humanity. They are my Space Marines, and they shall know no fear. That's a pretty badass way to talk about your soldiers like that.
Yeah, that dude sounds slightly insane.
And the Space Marines all have different chapters in different clans, groups, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I noticed.
And they get bigger and bigger. So like the ultramarine is probably around 7 to 8 feet. Any space marine surpassing that is 8, 9 feet, 9, 10 feet, and it keeps getting bigger.
So the ultramarines, are they like the lower ranks?
No, not necessarily. There's so many different chapters, and it's really hard to talk about this in such a way that isn't overwhelming because there's so many different chapters and so many different marines. Like, there's a whole planet of these just ripped Rambo-looking space marines that live on this planet, and the planet's conditions are so harsh that, like, they're considered the best warriors, but also they don't really come off the planet too much because the conditions are so bad. If some were to leave, they might not survive. Like, the whole species, the whole civilization might not survive. Like,
is it just warring, or is it just the planet itself?
It's just the planet itself, just the hostile wildlife and stuff.
Why don't they just leave?
Oh.
You're sacrificing 1,000 people a day. Just get off the planet.
I don't know. It's one of the planets they live on. I don't remember which one. So we have humans, we have space marines, and the Adeptus Mechanicus is another group of human subsect out there in space. They're a technophile cult on Mars. They don't believe in the Emperor. They believe that he existed. They believe that he had great power, but they do not pray to him. Now, at first you were like, wait a minute, this would be a bad thing because they would all be heretics and then they would all kill them. The Mechanicus are the ones who build all the weapons and all the tanks and all the war machines.
So they can't.
So they can't do anything because the...
Hey, you want your pew-pews? Can't, I'm not going to pray to your god.
Yeah.
So,
And they do pray to the Omnissiah. And the Omnissiah is this deity that works through all machines. So their kind of method, their kind of tradition, religion, whatever it is that if you want your gun to work, you better get down on your knees and you better pray to that gun. And they do that with all technology. So if, like, I don't know, one guy's getting a text, right, from this girl, they're chatting and she hasn't texted back yet, he, like, prays to the phone for it to get the text there faster. If I want my...
Does it work?
Supposedly it does. I don't know that.
Is that kind of like part of the mystery of it? They're like, they believe it, and so you're like, does it work? Does it not work?
Well, that's the orcs. They believe it works, and it does work, but it doesn't work because they don't know how to build stuff. But, like, all right, in Space Marine, all their ships, like, did you see all of them? They're just, like, slapped together with, like, a bunch of just whatever.
They were actual rocks. They put rockets on rocks, and that was their boarding craft.
Yeah.
That was metal as hell.
And literally, they believe it will work, therefore it works.
Whoa.
Like, they just get a bunch of metal, turn it into a cylinder, duct tape it to a rock, and they're like, I'm going to fly this thing to the moon. They hop on it, it flies. It just... fire sparks in there and it just flies up to the moon. That's my favorite thing about orcs. My favorite thing.
The power of imagination.
It really is. So the deity all through machines is the Omnissiah, and there is a quote here. There is no truth in flesh, only betrayal. There is no strength in flesh, only weakness. There is no constancy.
Consistency?
How do you spell consistency?
CONSIS.
Yeah, it's not that. It's
TEN.
constancy. It must be a big fancy word like stance.
Yeah, I'm not that smart.
Without an E and then you put Y on the end. In flesh, only so there's no constancy in flesh, only decay. There is no certainty in flesh, but death. So it is a part of their religion to just chop their limbs off, replace them with robotic parts. You are seen as more of a pure person the more mechanical and robotic you are. And these are the guys who build all the stuff.
Does that tie into the Inquisition?
No.
Oh, the one dude had a robot arm, so I was
like connection. You'll see characters with, other like robot limbs just to replace their limb, right?
Okay.
But these guys, they want to change, like they'll replace organs with like an artificial heart.
Okay.
Because they feel that is closer to the Omnissiah than being in flesh. Flesh was a curse, and we need to get ourselves to the Omnissiah by making ourselves as much robots as we can.
So there's just a bunch of virgins?
Yes, they are.
It's like we don't have any need for this flesh. We're like, yeah, nerd.
We have no bitches, so you know what? We're gonna worship our computers. We're gonna become our computers.
Man, if you guys can build stuff, just build a sex bot. Jeez.
So I was bad about this. I didn't necessarily put down a note if these are related to the Mechanicus. I think this is a group of the Mechanicus called the Skittari. They're paranoid and they're crazy. So they're oh yes, the Skittari are the fighting force of the Mechanicus, I believe. So all right, there's these things called Dune Striders, right? Dune Strider, and this goes into the paranoia thing. Dune Striders are like these robot things on two giant legs that can run super fast, and they ride them right into battle. The funny thing about Dune Striders is the guy who invented the Dune Striders was like, okay, mass produce these. And they're like, all right, we'll do it. Where are your schematics? And like, I already put them in, just mass produce them. Cool, okay, we'll do that. They mass produced them. He died. And he was so paranoid, he never wrote down how to make Dune Striders. So, fear that a Dune Strider would never turn on again if they shut it off, they keep them on all the time. They just run in circles in these giant pens. They're programmed just to just do laps until they're needed for battle. Then they are corralled, and then they are taken into battle. And after the battle, they are brought back and put back into the pen because they don't know. They're like, if we shut this off, we don't know if we can turn it back on.
That's hilarious.
There's stuff like this in here that is so funny, but at the same time, this was the point I was talking about where battle and war is such a constant that no one has learned anything, nothing has advanced, and they're just like, we don't know how this works.
Do they not write? I know you said like the paranoia, so he didn't write it down and stuff. But
yeah.
That's one dude. Does nobody anywhere have a pad and paper to write this stuff down?
Apparently not. And it's just...
this is like the napkin schematic thing. That's just...
And all of this, it just permeates the entire universe of Warhammer. Alright, so let's move on past them, and let's go to the Sisters of Battle, my personal favorite. They are awesome. They are all female, like the Space Marines, but they're all women.
Created in a tube, basically?
Yes, but they do have women who will just, like, who will take different ranks and join them. I believe. I'm not 100% sure if they were actually created or anything like that. I feel like they would have been, but I'm not sure.
Quick question, too. The regular humans, the Imperial Guard people, they're just normal.
They're just normal people, yep.
Okay.
Yep,
okay.
Normal people.
I just want to make sure the whole universe wasn't, like, being made in factories.
Yeah, no. There's normal people. So they're all female, very religious. They are considered the private army of the church that permeates the Imperium of Man. There are three things that they believe in is faith, martyrdom, and fire.
Oh my god.
So put that on a Tinder profile. What do I believe in? Faith, martyrdom, and fire.
That sounds horrifying.
They focus on fighting back the forces of chaos and killing off heretics. Their main battle tank is like a city-sized pipe organ with missiles on it and tank treads.
That's awesome.
And you can hear it, and it's like they just play some, like, they just play some organ music, and you can hear them. It is very common for them to mutilate babies and turn them into cherubs to utilize in battle. Like certain babies that don't fit the standard, they will pretty much transform them into these like demonic, robot, half baby infused. All right, Matt, do you know those babies from Dead Space?
Yeah.
Imagine that with a robot eye and some, robot wings.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was picturing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And they treat them like birds. Like it's not common for like someone to have like a few sitting in a cage in their like chamber. There are also, every time they go into battle against chaos or heretics, it is very common for them to drop churches from orbit. So just imagine a church lands and it has one of those cheesy signs that says, like, the one I keep seeing every day to work is CH, and there's a big space that says CH, and it says, what's missing? And then it says, you are. like the you are in the middle of the church, right? That kind of stuff. So just imagine the forces of chaos sitting there murdering people, and a church just falls from the sky, lands, and they see that sign, and it's just quiet for a moment, and one guy's like, "Oh, I'll get it!
And then his head explodes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, from a gunshot. He gets sniped while he's screaming about it, and the sisters.
That's funny.
The sisters of battle are ready to go. It's also incredibly common in low atmosphere for them to blast church music. They'll bring their frigates down into low orbit.
Just to use as speakers?
Just to use the speakers.
Just put a speaker in their armor.
They start playing like...
Play it over... They have radios in their armor. That's how they communicate.
No, it's not the same. You gotta drop in low orbit and just play,
Also, that is like the worst...
That is exactly it.
I feel like that would take away your fury and fervor for fighting.
Well, the one thing that the forces of chaos in the warp legitimately fears them, because they have such a strong mental fortitude that they cannot be tempted by the warp. There's never been a situation where a sister of battle has been tempted by the warp. The reason there's Chaos Space Marines is because a lot of Space Marines get tempted and then go join their armies. Sisters of Battle, never. It's never been recorded. Never happened.
Yeah, that's fair. Guys are
pretty dumb.
More easily tempted, yes. I feel. Yeah.
Yes. They're my favorite, just dropping churches from orbit, playing Our God's an Awesome God from their frigates in low orbit. Like,
Our God is an awesome God.
Like, I love them. They're the best. Yeah, and that's about the most to them. Another cool faction is the Grey Knights. They are a super secret psyker group, and remember what the psykers are. They can,
You said the Grey Knights?
They're called the Grey Knights.
Okay.
They have psyker, magic abilities that they can pull from the warp. They are considered the best of the best. They are very thorough in their strategies, and they have a scorched earth policy.
Oh, these are my kinds of guys.
If they're killing heretics, if they're killing demons, right, and they clear out, a settlement, and then there's people there that come out, and they're like, "Oh, you saved us." Well, the thing is, those people could have been manipulated by the warp just by their presence around the Chaos Marines. So just to be sure, they kill them all. And they're kind of like, no, because that's another one. But they are just they're the guys who you just throw out there and they're just like, yeah, here you go. Everything needs to die. Even people on our side, you got to get those out of there.
Sisters of Battle, we need a church. Can you guys help us out here?
Yeah.
Just drop a cathedral on the town.
Or just roll one of the pipe organ tanks right over it while it's playing, take me out to the ball.
I'm just imagining some super ripped woman just sitting back there just pounding on the keys for the pipe organ to play it.
I imagine that even better. She's at the pipe organ, but you know who she looks like? She's so ripped and muscular. She looks like that guy from Elden Ring, the grafted guy. You know who I'm talking about? With all the arms on him and he's just huge.
I don't know if I saw him yet.
He shows up in trailers. I haven't seen him yet, but I've seen him in trailers. And he has all these arms, but his body is like a shape of a T. He's so muscled and weird. So just imagine just playing that on the organ, looking like her, just just going to town. Imperial Knights, I thought they were cool because they're just giant robot walkers. And they're considered knights because there's a little bit of bioengineering in there, but they're just giant walkers that sometimes they're considered houses just because of how big they are and their shape. They kind of just look like almost like a Baba Yaga. You know what a Baba Yaga is, right?
From The Witcher?
Well, just in general. That's
I've heard the term before. I didn't realize they were houses.
It's folklore where it's like a witch's house, on two chicken legs.
Oh yeah,
and it will seduce people in, and then it'll run off and do stuff. Yeah, so that's what I was kind of comparing it to. They're just fun. I thought they were cool. The Adeptus Custodes. Oh my gosh, I can't read. Adeptus. I think it's Custodians. I think I wrote it wrong because it's custodies. It might be custody. They are custodians, pretty much because they are the front line for the Emperor, and they guard Earth. That is it's been renamed Holy Terra. I just wanted to use Earth until we got to this point. So Earth is called Holy Terra. And each soldier is handcrafted. So there's no, all right, I'm pulling from the gene seed and I'm just going to make a batch of 10 clones. No, every single one is built like from scratch, handcrafted, put together. They are 8.5 feet tall to 9 feet tall. See, I told you they're getting bigger. They stand guard of the throne for their entire life. Like, one will be handcrafted. It's like, all right, this is the guy who stands at the right of the Emperor's door. This is the guy who stands at the left of the Emperor's door. And that's all. That is their purpose. They don't need to eat. No nonsense of, like, needing to go to the bathroom. They just sit there motionless for, like, millennia. And they're considered some of the best warriors.
How would they know? I feel like nobody would ever get close to Earth.
There has been some times when, orcs or chaos marines have shown up to Earth. The lore's very vast.
Do people still live on Earth?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Earth is a big place. It just,
I was literally imagining just, like, one continent that wasn't completely bungled up and, like, just billions of these soldiers just literally just standing around.
Yeah, they're just standing around, and that's all they do. Here's a quote, and this is actually from one of the custodians. For 100 years, I stood my watch amidst the somber shadows of the Sanctum Imperii. I hate this word, Imperialis. I always get tripped up on it, I don't know why. I was still as a statue, but always ready, always attuned to dangers unseen. Days, months, years passed by in a frenzied blur beyond those walls, yet within, little moved and nothing changed. For 100 years I did not but wait, yet had any threat appeared, I would have struck it down in a heartbeat. For 100 years I stood my watch, and as it ends, I can tell you this: patience is a weapon. They're considered the best because they one purpose, and I feel like they're bottling it up for so long that when it finally happens, like afterwards they have like post-nut clarity.
Yeah, they're bored.
Yeah, they're just sitting there, and like finally when someone shows up, they're like, finally, and they just like slaughter entire like just armies by themselves. Like I think the ratio is like there's a technical ratio, but for like every 3 to 5 Space Marines, depending on the chapter, you only need one of these guys, only one custodian. And they're always outnumbered, but they're never outmatched.
Dang.
They're badasses. And it is actually, I'm throwing this in there, it is actually like canonical lore that one time there was a planet just covered, I'm not sure if it was orcs or Tyranids. So they got 4 of the best Space Marines, and they're like, all right, we'll drop you down there. We'll come get you in a week. And they're like, yeah, you got it, boss. They drop them down there, come back in a week. The entire planet is cleared of the threat. And therefore, those 4 are just there. And they're just like, all right, we're done.
They're like, guys, we had like a full 36 hours to spare.
Where were you?
they're just like, all right, go kill everything. They're like, how can we kill everything very fast?
That's literally it. They just dropped them on the planet, and they came back around to pick them up, and the whole planet, like everything was dead. And they're just sitting there like, whew, what a day, right? Another day at the office.
You guys send us to the coolest places.
Man. I don't know why. Just like the one guy who's just grossly optimistic. Like, we get to go to the coolest places. As he's like trying to pull his sword out of a Tyranid's face. Like, So, next group is the Sisters of Silence. They are defective warriors that also kind of hang out with the custodians guys. They're defective warriors who emit a horrifying aura. How I kind of compare this to is, you ever go to a funeral and you just feel something's off? You feel something just a little weird, an uneasy feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I kind of equate that to, it's like, oh, there's like a dead body in the room, right? It's someone you cared about or someone you knew that like someone else cared about is gone, and you're just left with the husk, and there's that weird...
It's that emptiness, kind
yes.
of. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, irrevocable change. Like somebody's gone. Like, doesn't matter.
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay, that's what you're...
no matter what you do in life, no matter whatever you want, like, that is a constant that you have no power over. It's kind of like that helpless feeling. Yeah.
Yes. And these Sisters of Silence, they have a suppressed part of their brain where they cannot be affected by the warp at all. Because the terminology is they're blanks. They're kind of just like, I don't know.
Soulless, almost?
Soulless, almost. Maybe like closer to like a homunculi, like something made, but it's lacking a soul.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what you just said, soulless. Well, I'm stupid.
Well, it's not like they lost their souls. Like, they were created without one.
Yeah, they're defects, so they became Sisters of Silence. And like, people would rather avoid anything to do with them just so they don't have to be near them because of that uneasy feeling. It's so overpowering. Like, even some Space Marines don't like to be around them. But they're also, they kind of support the Custodians, and they do, little strikes on heretics or anyone with chaos. This one I thought was super cool. The Officio Assassinorium.
Assassins.
Yes, and pretty much if you're an orphan, instead of being sent to an orphanage, you're sent to this place. And to become an assassin.
You're useless. We're going to at least make you good at killing.
Yes. Yeah, and that's like a thing for any orphan. So like, your parents died in a conflict, Grandmaster shows up, takes you in his car, you leave, you're gone, you're going to assassin school. So it would be like
your mom and dad were torn apart by orcs. Time to go learn how to kill stuff.
And the probably kid's like, yay!
I'm actually just imagining a kid like holding a teddy bear, like, they're dead, and he just gets slapped, and it's like, you're gonna be an assassin. Learn how to like get over it.
Get ready.
What?
And there's 4 different temples in here, and the names were really confusing. I didn't want to bog anything down, so I just took notes on what they do. So there's 2 that are really, because there's like snipers, and they're genetically modified also to when they get into position to take out a target, they're there months in advance. They are in that spot for months in advance just to shoot that person. There's another one that's more like sneaky assassin. You know, the standard assassin with the blade and stuff.
Yeah,
that's what you expect.
Stick to the shadows, slit your throat.
These final two are my favorite. The one is a toned down version of the final one where pretty much they are put through a very rigorous, torturous training. It's more just torture. They're just tortured. And on one end, they're just tortured enough where they become assassins, where there's such a bloodlust and a hunger for violence because of all the torture and all the terrible things they're forced to watch, that they just become these unstoppable killing machines, but no one ever wants to be around them, like, ever. They're kind of secluded and kept in these pods, and they're just, like, fired down the planets, and they're like, all right, they'll take care of it.
They're not even assassins in the traditional sense. They are just... like chaos unleashed in small c, chaos unleashed.
Yes, chaos unleashed. And there's a step further than that is just infinitely worse, where they go through all that, but they get to the point where it's so bad. It's almost like Clockwork Orange, where they're just desensitized to violence, and it almost becomes like like they want violence because they're so used to it, and that's
they need it to survive.
Yes, almost. And that's all they know. But they also emit that aura that people, it's canon in the universe that people have rather, in the presence of one, they preferred to gouge their eyes out, rip out their fingernails, and start yanking out teeth just for a different type of pain to get them away from the feeling of that uncomfortable, painful aura that they emit.
Dang.
And like when they get fired down the planet, they're frozen. Once they figure out, like, oh, it's one of these guys, freeze them. Then they just shoot them down the planets, and they're just like, they take a step back and like, all right, let them do their work. We don't know how we're going to get them back in the tube, but we'll figure that out when we get...
Oh, so they're not, like, friendly. They're like...
No,
they can't distinguish.
No, they can't distinguish. They just kill and kill and kill and kill and kill.
all right, we're gonna send in those 4 Space Marines, and we're gonna see if they can freeze them again.
Yeah, and I don't know how they do that. And my information here isn't as in depth, and probably a few things wrong here or there, but it's like the base idea. I hope I'm.
Well, this has also been around for decades, hasn't it? Because it started as a board game.
Yeah, and it's still a board game, and it's actually still very popular.
Well, it's almost like Dungeons and Dragons. Like it's such a,
finish your statement before I comment.
Not Dungeons, not like similar in that just it's been around for so long. It took on a life of its own, and now it's literally its own universe.
Yeah,
like Dungeons and Dragons started as a board game, and now there's books, there's games, there's probably shows. I don't know. Like it blew up and expanded. So there's decades worth of content. So this is you're legitimately just dipping your toe into it.
Yeah. And the board game is like you're moving all these troops around the board, and there's like, you know, those miniature stuff they build for D&D, like campaigns, like dungeons, like people put a lot of time in just to making a dungeon for a D&D campaign.
Yeah.
It's like that's a standard board in Warhammer.
Dang.
Like, you just put up all the pieces, like, oh, I'm going to have... And you have to use rulers to be like, okay, so this guy can move 3 inches. So you, like, put it to the base of it and measure it and then slide it up. Like, I've never played it. I just watched some videos on YouTube of, like, how people play it. They get into it. Holy cow. Finally, the Inquisition. Inquisition. Your Inquisitor with the emo haircut from the game. Considered the secret police, but it is turned up to 11, and they have the most power in the Imperium. They trump everybody except for the God King himself. The God Emperor.
Is that just militarily, or just in general?
In general.
So everything. Is there like a... I don't want to get away from the Inquisition, but is there like a... Is there like a political, like, ruling class, and then these guys are...
Yeah, it's the God Emperor. If you do everything for the God Emperor, if you don't do everything for the God Emperor, you're bad.
I guess what's their ruling structure? Well, I guess if it's constant war, it's just military everywhere. That's the ruling.
Yeah, it's a constant state of martial law or whatever.
Okay, and so the Inquisitors are just the higher ups, like the overlord generals, basically.
And it just goes down the chain of command all the way down for everything.
So is there like I know the God Emperor is the top guy, but he's comatose. Is there like probably the sons, I would imagine?
The sons kind of take over that role, but yeah, there's a lot of thought, like, did they, because they say like, oh yeah, we can communicate with them, but a lot of people are like, I don't think you do. I think you just kind of run around and just do whatever. So their motto that, you know, it's the motto that you see when you walk into the building and work on Monday is innocence proves nothing.
That's kind of the antithesis of the word innocent. Because if you're innocent, it means you haven't done anything.
Right, but just because you're innocent doesn't mean you're innocent.
So these are kind of like the Scorched Earth guys.
Yes. Let me get you this little tidbit here. They're above law in the other way. They investigate cults, coups, and other threats to the Imperium of Man. They're kind of space detectives. And they have the ability, and they don't do this as much as people think and meme about, but they do it enough where it's a little concerning that they have the ability to declare exterminatus, where they deem a planet unworthy or impossible to save, or it would take too much resources to save it.
Mm-hmm.
So then they just
blow it up.
And they sign these death warrants pretty regularly.
Dang.
And there's a book, Warhammer book I want to read that's really good called Xenos, and it's about an Inquisitor, and it's about this, like, it's this giant mystery of, like, this Inquisitor investigating a cult and some coups and stuff like that.
So they have political power just because they're doing all this investigation. It's their word is law because they do everything in the name of the God Emperor.
Yes.
Do they have physical power like the Space Marines, or is there more of like a authority power?
It's authority power, but you know the Inquisitor in the Space Marine game, right? He showed up, he's smaller. He ain't a big guy.
Yeah, the main one through the game?
Yeah, the main one through the game, yeah. Sometimes they can be psychers, but more or less they have authority. And that's the end of all the stuff I have for the Imperium of Man. And that's why at the end of the game, like, the Inquisitor was like, Titus,
you touched the war.
And how are you not crazy? That's why he was... And at first I was pissed off about that, because I'm like, Titus just saved all your asses, and now you're saying that he's, got to be tried and punished and all that. I mean, that's very normal, and after I learned that, I have more of an understanding, like, wow, okay,
I still think Leandros was a douche.
Leandros is a douche.
I still love just the calm demeanor, but such a savage blow that Titus said to him. It's every Marine's job to interpret the whatever that I can't think of
I know what you're talking about. It's their
codex as he sees fit to serve the Emperor, and you failed. He's basically like, you failed at the one thing you were created to do. It's like, wow.
Dude, Titus, and
he's like, and I'm still gonna go because I didn't fail at my purpose.
Right.
It's like,
and he willingly went, and all the people are like, don't go. What are you doing?
Yeah, they're like, they're gonna kill you.
And he's like, that's my job.
He's like, I saved the planet, and something weird happened, so let's figure it out.
But to transition into Space Marine now, what's so awesome about that is that we're getting a sequel. I'm getting a sequel to one of my favorite games, like on the Xbox.
Like 15 years later, isn't it? Something like that? Yeah.
And all right, fun fact, you know those two little dots on his head?
Yeah, the sergeant guy who died had that too.
Yeah, you know what that means? I think it is, I can't remember the exact number. It's per 100 or per 1,000 years of service.
Oh.
So in the new trailer for the new game, he has 4 now. So this
got cleared then.
This is taking place 200 or 2,000 years after the first game.
Okay, but that's kind of crazy then, because obviously, if he has that for certain, if he was deemed evil, he would have been killed. Or recycled. I don't know.
I kind of feel like what happened is I feel like how the story's going to start is there's going to be an issue on another planet, and it's Tyranids. Like, I don't know if you watched the trailer, but Tyranids. And Tyranids, next week's episode, when I go into Tyranids, they're scary. They are legitimately terrifying.
I was like, you're fighting orcs at the beginning of that game, and then it turns into chaos demons, and I'm like, whoa, there's way more to this universe. Like, I thought it was all machine and technology.
Yeah.
And now there's like this weird magic hellscape demons coming, and then... Oof. I wonder, does it look like it's going to be similar to the first one as far as hack and slash?
Yeah. I can shoot you a trailer later. It looks exactly the same. It just looks nicer.
I hope they make it a little bit more expansive. Because that first game was awesome, but it was very...
Hallways.
Yes.
Just a bunch of hallways.
Which, again, sometimes games like that, like Gears, that's the Gears of War style.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, and I want them to... Give me a codex. Give me something so I can read through all this lore as well.
Right, and did you pick up the audio files?
I did. I don't think I listened to too many of them, though.
It gives you a little bit, but yeah, I understand what you're saying, definitely. And I think the combat's going to be a little smoother. Playing it now, it still plays great. Oh my gosh, it still plays great. But it's a little clunky. But you adapt to that clunkiness real quick.
But yeah, sometimes that's the charm of games. Like Dragon Age, that was what made it fun. It was weird, but once you got used to it. And then, this one, bring back the hammer.
The hammer. Oh, it'll be back, definitely.
After watching Space Marine, after playing through it, I have now... started rewatching the League of Legends Arcane show
just
on Netflix,
for the hammer,
just to get to the point where Jace takes that hammer and just beats stuff with it, and I'm like, I might have to go back and play Skyrim or something just so I can start using a hammer. That hammer was so cool,
good, and I think that was the first time where I remember, I think that was the first time where there was the mechanic where. Like, if you were low on health, they wanted you to get into battle so you could get your health back by doing those punishing kills on people. And a lot of people are like, oh, Doom 2016 did that. And it was so vivid. I'm like, no, Space Marine did first, bro.
Yeah, I think there was probably several other games that did that.
Yeah, too, it was that one was just a popular game where everyone was just all about
Oh, yeah.
They were just like, oh, this is the first time we've seen it. And we're like, us, the intellectuals, like, no. Actually, push my glasses up from the edge of my nose. Like, actually, it appeared in Space Marine first. Well, all right, let me look up real quick when Space Marine came out, and then we got to get on to our other topic. But it's just, after all this Warhammer stuff, I'm just excited to play the second one now. And
release date on that yet, or no?
No, it's just a trailer. Means it's probably gonna be but they do have they have gameplay footage in it. Usually that means they're a little farther ahead than you would think if you just got a cinematic trailer.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Man, maybe I'll have to give that Dark Alliance game another go. I'll have to play as Wolfgar, though, because he has the hammer.
When did it come out?
Space Marine?
2011. It came out 2011.
Wow, 11 years.
2011.
Wait. 2011. That's when Skyrim came out.
Yeah. You're probably too busy playing Skyrim.
11, 11, 11.
11, 11, 11. So, alright, since we're talking about games that are coming out with new sequels and stuff, the confirmed Witcher 4, the new saga begins, and I did my research that emblem in the snow is the House of the Lynx.
So it's not the wolf.
Not the wolf.
They did talk about some of the things I said. I think this was before it was confirmed, but they're like, it's a new saga. It's probably not going to be about Geralt. Like, he had his time in the sun. We told his story. And depending on how you play the third Witcher, it concludes. And they're like,
yes,
that's it. That's their story. And I'm kind of hoping... Everybody shut your mouths. I'm going to say it in advance. Everybody shut up. Let them make the game and let it just... screaming too much?
No, you're fine. Okay. There was dust on the touchpad. I was just getting rid of it.
Everybody tore... And this is too fresh for me, still coming off of Mass Effect, Andromeda. Everybody tore it to pieces because it was different. It's because you're all morons who are afraid of change. Mm-hmm. Let the new world grow. It has to... Of course it's not going to be good. The first Mass Effect has nostalgia purpose for me, but guess what? When you replay it, the first one compared to the third one,
oh my gosh, it
sucks
ass.
Balls.
Yeah, it's total ass.
I mean, I love it because it was such a huge thing. Same thing with The Witcher. Look at the first Witcher. It looked like it sucked. The story was good, and that's why everybody loved it, but comparatively, the third one, which is like this... Didn't even the third one was like really bad until they did all the patches and fixed it?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't Alright, my phone was freaking out. I'm trying to send someone the word hell yeah, but it won't send because it's being dumb. Yeah, when it first came out, it was just buggy, glitchy, kind of like Cyberpunk was. But, the story was so engaging that people put up with it. And, people from the first game all the way down to here were invested. And honestly, in my opinion, Witcher 3 best, Witcher 1 awesome, Witcher 2... I'm just impressed we got to Witcher 3 after Witcher 2. Just from my personal perspective, it was... Honestly, the story's great and the gameplay's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Just me personally, it's like the story was just too politic heavy and I just got bored and was not interested.
And see, I love games like that.
And that you will like it. You will like it a lot because they talk about all... Yeah, but we won't get into that.
I like all of the different alliances, and if you're going to want to choose this person, then it makes them an enemy. And I love
and that's exactly like what the second one does. So you will like it. You'll like it a lot. And it's not bad. Just for me, it's not my favorite. I 100% agree. I was going to say, I would like to hear your thoughts on what you would like to see, but also I want them to just go make that game. I'm excited that we get to see more of the world.
That's what I want to see, is because it's been shown from... I'm almost a little... I understand why it's going to be from a Witcher's perspective, because the game is called The Witcher.
The Witcher.
I thought it might be kind of cool to maybe see from a different person's perspective, maybe
a not Witcher.
Maybe you're a witch hunter who turned... I don't want to say turned good, but was hey, I'm doing a lot of bad stuff. I'm not going to follow this religious path anymore and kill innocent people. Maybe you're just a common soldier who gets really good and can stand and fight against Witchers too.
Because Witchers are powerful, but they're not they are super soldiers, but they're not super soldiers. They die all the time. They get killed all the time.
Well, yeah, that's why they're dying out, is because the people rose up against them. Right. They're not invincible, and that's plays a mage. Mages are, that was actually something I thought, that or an elf. I'd like, elves were like better warriors back in the day, and everybody hated them, so they just killed them all. There's also other worlds. Like at the end of it blew my mind because I wasn't as deep into the lore, but for The Witcher 3, they literally warped. Like Ciri took them to another world.
Oh, they go to different dimensions all the time.
The Wild Hunt.
Yeah.
The head of that, but like those are, I thought they were like demon people. They're not. They're just like,
they're elves.
Yeah, they're jacked elves who just come from a different planet.
And their planet has been affected by the White Frost, and what they want to get Ciri to do is open up the gate so all their people can come through. But if they do that, the White Frost is going to follow them. But they're like, we just want our people to survive.
Is that why they were hunting her down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because you go to that one world where the White Frost destroyed that world.
And you can't even walk outside.
Yeah, that was I just.
And also with the snow, so if you haven't watched the trailer, look up the Witcher 4 like teaser. There's a bunch of videos online that, joke on it and are memes, but you can find it. It is, in the process. Actually, they've been working on it for quite a few years, actually.
The Witcher 3 has been out for a long time.
It has. So. And Cyberpunk was kind of handled, the more I learned was like, they're like, all right, you work on Witcher and we're going to have, because when Witcher 3 was coming out, Cyberpunk was still being worked on.
Yeah.
They just have multiple teams doing it. I like that idea. I would like to see maybe just the option to like, maybe it's a party of people and there's a Witcher in there and like I'll play as the Witcher, or you're like, I could play as a mage in this party, I could play as a
something like that. I don't know if they'll do it because the Witchers, they're a little bit more universal, I guess. So you can give them the magic signs, they can use weapons, potions, so I get why they're a good character to play as in that universe, but I thought it might be cool just to even have an option like at the beginning of the game. Do you want to, it like you said, it's a party and you play with them. Might make it hard for the free roam type stuff, but I don't know. But I just let them do, just everybody chill out.
Let them do their thing.
Let them make it, because that's the thing now is if there's stuff we don't like and people are mad about it, they can change it down the road. Let them get their creative juices out.
Without being influenced by, the profit margin and the people saying, oh, I'm not buying this game because of this reason.
Every time the fan base whine and don't like something and it gets changed, it's changed for the worse.
Usually, yeah.
Well, I'm going to go back to Star Wars, the latest movies. You know why they were all so bad? Is because you all wouldn't shut up. And they're like, well, we got to cater to what the people want. Well, the people don't know what they want. That's why you are the people, small p.
Yeah.
And let it happen. Let it
happen.
You are not the creative genius behind it. Shut up.
Yeah, just shut your pie hole.
You are a consumer. It is okay in this instance to just be the consumer.
Yeah, unless you were making your own game, and I understand. I always felt like, if or whenever I make my own game in whatever capacity, my approach to it is I'm going to shadow drop it. It'll be complete, and it just shows up. And people are like, what is this? Where did this come from? So no one can be like, oh, I'm going to have expectations. Oh, I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. And then form my own opinion before I play it.
Well, like in The Witcher, I'm pumped for it. But if it doesn't meet my expectations, I'm fine because it's a new universe.
Yes. That's what I'm so excited. Because I was worried. I'm like, but Geralt never. Now, I thought it would be cool, like, if you could run around, you and Ciri just going around on adventures. But then I thought about more. I'm like, but it wrapped up, like, especially in the DLC, it wraps up and closes up. That you haven't played that Blood and Wine, which you need to.
I started it. I just haven't finished it. Yeah,
Let me know when you finish it, because, oh man, like, I honestly, actually, if you're at the last mission, I want to be here to watch you.
Will you know it's the last mission?
Oh yes, you will. You will.
Okay.
You could keep me in the loop. Be like, all right, I'm at this boss. I'm like, okay, you stop playing. I'm coming over. I just got to see your reaction to the ending of it.
Okay, I will.
Goosebumps, and just talking about it. Look, goosebumps.
I'll start it up. I'm gonna have to familiarize myself with the controls and everything again. But for The Witcher 4, I don't know. I'm just pumped. Like you're saying, that world. That wasn't even the whole continent that you were exploring. That was literally just the coastal areas and kingdoms.
It sure was. And then you hopped on a boat, went to Skellige, but yeah.
Yeah, but even though that's just islands off the coast, like that was such a small area. I almost wonder, are Witchers only around in there, or are they worldwide?
That I don't know, and maybe this will answer it. Maybe I hope CD Projekt Red takes some liberties to be creative, but also My thing on that is, I'm fine if you're creative with a property. Just don't retcon anything. You know what I mean? Just don't be like, oh, Witchers in this area can use any kind of magic. No, Witchers can't use magic. They can only use signs, and only when they have their medallion on.
Don't you have to be, like, mages are just, they're born with it. Let's stick with that. You have to be born with the ability to control that chaos.
Well, you're sometimes born with it, but also sometimes you're not, and you have to sacrifice something to become a mage.
Or that's fine with that.
That's where it gets a little confusing, and that's kind of, it's left up to interpretation in the actual, universe.
I'm cool with them taking it. What did you say the school was? The school of the...
I think it was the Lynx. That's what I saw.
I had never heard of that, because I thought there was only 4 schools.
Right. So
wolf, serpent, cat, bear.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh no, was it bear or was it manticore? I think it was manticore.
So
I'm gonna get it. I'm getting the info right now. We have the technology.
Yeah, I know. As my smartphone's right here.
Right. 4 schools of the Witcher. There we go. Oh, there's more. Known Witcher schools, but these are the ones that are considered known and
famous type.
So I know where you got the 4 from. The 4 was just the ones that are left over after they stopped making Witchers and stuff, right? There's School of the Wolf, Cat, Griffin, Bear, Viper, Manticore, Crane, but now there's more.
So and the other
there's
ones,
a Lynx.
The other ones all died out.
Yeah. Because they stopped making...
Well, they had to stop because there wasn't any of the Elder Blood left, right? And that's what they needed to make the Witchers? Or the means were lost?
Are you pulling from the TV show?
I think was.
You're
My
pulling
apologies.
from the TV show.
I did.
And that is wrong!
Well, they whatever ingredient...
The Trial of the Grasses, they can still do it. The thing is, there's like a 1 in 4 chance of a kid even surviving the Trial of the Grasses. Yeah. And also, there was a revolt where people were like, we have kingdoms now. We don't need Witchers. So they revolted against them and killed a whole bunch of them.
I remember that's why Kaer Morhen was
That's why Kaer Morhen looks away. Yeah,
that's why they're like, why are we going to torture all these kids when the people hate us anyways? Like, you were already Witchers, so this is your life.
And like after that... But like you said, that's one region. What if they expand and like, oh yeah, this is a region outside where there's the House of the Lynx.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking is maybe they go further inland and then there's its own power struggle going on there. Maybe that world isn't as tamed.
Yeah.
Like we said, especially back in olden times. Now this is going probably way too analytical, but they're on the coast. Shipping back then was how you move stuff. Like on the water, actual ships. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why port cities were huge cities. Inland, maybe you don't have those kingdoms that can move those resources as easily. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're still, So I'm excited to see what happens. And the big thing too is they're not using their own software anymore. They partnered with Unreal Technology, which powers a lot of new games.
And also, I think with their partnership in that, it's going to be a lot faster to pump it out, and they're going to have more resources for the support.
Well, they can focus more on the story instead of like, how do we make this work within our technical capability. There's like, you guys do the technical part, we're going to focus on the story, and we'll just mesh and make it work.
What makes me sad is I got a book a while back about the world of The Witcher, like the game world, and there's so many parts of that book where they cut stuff out. And that makes me so sad. I'm like, I want everything you can give to me in this game, please. And everything.
I like that they didn't, though, because then it gives them room to expand as more comes out.
Yeah.
If you give everything right away, if you force that,
right,
I think it's cool to just add more to it as you go. Now...
And I'm just the type of guy, I love The Witcher 3 so much. Top 3 games ever. And I'm my brain just like, just give me more of that. Just add DLC packs. I won't be mad. I'll love it. Like, I will not be mad at all.
Yeah, I'm like still tempted to buy Skyrim again for the PS4 because you can do the mods and somebody's remaking Oblivion. And I was like, I might get it for the PS4 just so I can download Skyblivion.
Oh, that would be nice. Because, Oblivion's very bright and very shining.
I kind of liked it, though, just because it was so...
It was more whimsical.
Yeah, but it was also still super dark, but you just didn't realize it as a kid because it was bright. And in your mind, you're like, oh, this is bright and cartoonish. It's not evil and like scary and really messed up.
And I'm just thinking, as a 30-year-old, I can't wait to play The Witcher 4 when I'm 40.
And Todd Howard's not in charge of that one. You'll be fine.
That's true. Yeah, it will actually come out and actually happen. I just can't wait to see some gameplay. I saw some footage of like them testing out like this is what it's going to look like. This is a little demo. And like games don't have to be graphically amazing for me to love them. Like I love The Witcher 1. I will go through and I'll play that game over and over. I don't know why. Something about it. It's so convoluted. The quests don't line up, but there's something so charming about it and just the way it was created. And it's like a living, breathing world, even though it's not open world. Like, I believe, like, those characters are still there. Kind of like in the, Witcher 3. Those characters are still there when I'm not playing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Well, that's the art of making that world so compelling.
I'll just get on my computer when I'm chatting with my friends, and I'll just walk around Novigrad. I'll just walk around it. I won't do a quest. I'll turn off the HUD. I'll just wander around. Maybe I'll go to the whorehouse and see some video game titties. Maybe I'll go down here and like I actually stumbled onto a cave on the. It was it Novigrad? I think it was, or maybe it was. I don't remember, but like it was up there, and I saw this little staircase going down. I walked down it, and there was this small cave under it, and there was a armor set for School of the Cat, I think. Or School of the Viper, and I had to kill this like mutated alchemy beast for it.
Nice.
And I'm like, I never would have found that unless I just decided to walk around.
Yeah, Skyrim, most of the time I play it, I'm just walking around like finding new armor and stuff. I'm walking around the city just like trying to buy materials. Like, do I like this armor set? I've seen everything in that game a million times, and I still just walk around the cities looking.
It's comforting.
It's
like
fun.
When like stuff's getting bad, or not bad, but like when
stress
I've had a rough week, stress overload, a rough week, I just go and I just wander around, or I just wander around like one of the poor, like the little tiny towns. I just look through all the houses and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's I remember watching or listening one of the two. I mean, technically it was on YouTube, but it was a podcast and it wasn't. So, I listened to it, I guess. An interview with one of the directors, and they were asking for Witcher 3. It's like, how do you develop all the environments? It's like there were three different teams. A person who was like a group who was instructed to build the town, person who was instructed to decorate the town with the basic things you need, and then there was a team that would put in the detail. So like, so the people would put in the furniture, like they need a bed, a stove, they need, a outhouse, and, okay, all those are there. And then people would put like the details of like stuff hanging off the bed or stuff hanging from the ceiling. And they were just like, that was our creative process through the whole thing. Just everyone worked in these teams, and it brought different perspective. Now, some things didn't work, but then they would come in and, they would just tweak it a little bit usually to make it fit. And they would all have the idea and the know-how of what's happening, but oh man, I love that game so much. And now that there's a new one coming out,
and if they're starting to do hopefully they've been working on it a while, and we don't have to wait too long.
That's what according to sources, they said it's been about 3 or 4 years in development.
There's probably still another year left.
Yeah, the thing is, like with games nowadays, development's longer. Older games, dude, you could pump out like. I know Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time came out, and then Majora's Mask was pumped out like 11 months later.
Yeah.
Like, that's
because they're like, we got to capitalize on this.
And they're just like, we have all the assets, let's just tell a different story. And which I thought was so cool is like, it was a different game, but you saw the same assets, but it was like so different that you could get behind it and be like, yeah, this is a new game. That's awesome.
Yeah. And there's so much, you don't have to pump it out to meet the demand anymore. There's too much demand. So you can take 10 years to make something, and people will still buy it because they're like, oh, I recognize this name. But in the meantime, you have a decade's worth of other games to play.
As you wait. So you're never not going to have anything not to play.
However, what I think they're learning is they're going to kill a lot of popular game lines by that. Because the people who found them and loved them at formative times in their life, like myself and The Elder Scrolls, like 5 years between Oblivion and Skyrim. It's now been over 10 years between Skyrim and whatever the hell they're going to come out with next. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. It is the tagline for Elder Scrolls. If it is anything less than perfection, I'll probably stop playing the Elder Scrolls. Like, I will stick with Oblivion and Skyrim, and I'm not going to worry about it anymore, because what's the point?
And the fan base will tear them apart, too, because that's what they're really good at right now.
Well, and it's like, it doesn't take 10 years. I understand you guys are working on other stuff, and like the CD Projekt Red, they were working on Cyberpunk. But they're still gonna, although no, Witcher 3 came out in 2011. So it's,
Was it 20?
No, I'm sorry. We were
That's why I'm looking at you.
I'm mixing. Space Marine came out in 2011.
Yeah,
Witcher
Space
3
Marine
came out.
did. All right, I'll look up the date. I'll get the official.
It was mid 20
Witcher
teens.
3.
It's 2014 or 2015, I think.
2015, May 18th, 2015.
So even it's been 7 years. It's going to be another probably year or two before it comes out. So
I kind of hope they don't go the route of character creation. Every game does that now, and I don't mind creating my own character and giving them like their own kind of backstory. And like Mass Effect did it good. I think if they go the route of Mass Effect, where it's like, this is John Shepard, but you can choose what he looks like. This is New Witcher Man. You can choose what he looks like, but he has his own personality. He has his own, because Geralt has his own personality.
Yeah, but I like it because he has a base personality, but you can kind of pick and choose how he responds to situation. So every Geralt is unique enough to you.
It's unique enough to you, but also it could be canon because they kind of lined up like how his personality would be.
Yeah, yeah.
Which that's what I love.
I agree. I like that. I like that kind of...
I would be fine if they just gave us another character, because I feel like it's me and Geralt going on the adventure.
It's almost, like you're watching the story play instead of you are in the story.
Yeah.
So
you're watching it play out. So to finish off, smash or pass on the Crones?
Yeah, pass. Ugh.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good pass.
I got some depravity in me, but that's a little... Ugh.
I was playing on the PC the other night. I already said this before. My save data from the Switch, I sent it to the PC because you can do that. And so I'm just like, I'm playing a new game. And I never realize that one of the Crone's tits are hanging out the entire time. On the Switch, it's like... It almost looks like you're playing a PS2 game, but I still loved it. And now playing this, I'm like, her tits have been out this whole time? Yep. And she's just sitting there, they're just floppy, and she's like, ooh. And it's the one with the bag that has the legs hanging out of it.
Yep.
I don't know why there's legs hanging. And then she like flaps those legs at you, and I'm like, dang, girl, like... Is there a vagina in there too? Because I'll mess both up. I'm going to say smash on the Crones.
They remind me too much of like brood mothers. I'm like, I can't.
They are too much like brood mothers. Ah, man, what another week of episodes. So next episode, we're going to do the other half of Warhammer where it's all the like non-human races. And I hope I did a good enough job that it was concise where you could understand the idea. But like since Space Marine, I was just like, I want to talk
Marine,
about it.
I didn't even...
You don't need to.
I didn't even know that he wasn't human. I mean, he's human, but he was not like a born person and trained. He was just created. I was like, whoa.
Another trend with Warhammer games is they're really amazing or complete dog shit.
The Space Marine is the only one I've played.
And Space Marine is a very good one. Vermintide's very good, but that's just Warhammer, technically not 40k. I haven't played enough of the other Warhammer games, but like watching reviews, everyone's like, these are awful. Don't play them. Because these smaller developer studios will pick up the license and make a game and they're really passionate about, but they don't have the means. And given, everything, I think Hired Gun, Necromunda Hired Gun, that's a Warhammer game. That one, it was received pretty well. It is a first-person shooter. You just shoot things.
That seems to be what they do well, though.
Yes, and I can't wait for Dark Tide. It's like Vermintide. Vermintide is like a clone of Left 4 Dead, but it just takes place in the Warhammer universe, and you're fighting all these different
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, the Skaven is what they're called. They're rat people. And Dark Tide is kind of that same idea, but it's just in the 40k universe instead of the regular one. Hopefully that'll come out soon. Oh, all right. I exhausted everything. I got a little chub for this new Witcher game. Oh my gosh.
It's their.
Oh.
They got the technology behind it now.
Another thing I want, but whatever they make, I'm going to be happy with, because you know me. I'm like, as long as CD Projekt, I enjoyed Cyberpunk a lot. People hated it. I liked it a lot.
I still haven't played it.
I played it on PC, and I had no bugs or issues, but it was because I was on PC, and that was the only thing it would work for.
Yeah, for real.
But also, like, even Pokemon games, even when they rehash the same thing and don't put quality in it, I don't care. I love it. I'm stupid. I'm a dumb man. Like, I hope we get new romances, new women to flirt with, new ladies to fall in love with. That's...
Yep.
And I hope there's a redhead. Because all I want is a redhead in my Witcher game.
Sound like the Joker. That's
what I was going for. And another redhead like Triss would be just great. You want to know how I got these scars on my dick? Because some talented man decided to make 3D porn of Triss getting fucked by Geralt. And I haven't been able to walk straight since.
Do you want to know why my right arm is so much more muscular than my left?
You want to know why my right arm is jacked?
Well, jacked, it has something to do with it.
Oh, yes, that's the only thing I want. More babes to seduce and...
Just so graphic designers in their off hours can make more porn to upload?
Yes, please do. And I think another thing that The Witcher did in the romances was it was like they took a long time before you boned. You built that relationship. Now I know
they put actual strife in there. It wasn't just good times constantly. It was like
they would be angry at each other.
Yeah.
They would disagree, but there was still that romantic connection. And I noticed in Mass Effect games, it's always, or games similar to it, it's just there's key moments and then they're just, all right, time to bang.
Yep.
It's at a quick pace.
It's like, just pick this thing and then it's like, no, in the Witcher games, you had to like put the time and effort in.
You had to do their quest lines. You had to do their stories. You had to just go talk to them every so often. And
I had to save that game constantly because I kept picking the wrong things and screwing up. I had to use guides. Like in the third one.
How to bang Triss.
Well, like how to get rid of Kill Radovid.
Yeah.
I was like, I looked it up because I just wanted to find like one thing in a quest, and it spoiled it for me. But it's like, no, if you want to like do this quest line, you have to pick these specific options throughout. I'm like, how does anybody find this?
It's just people experiment. People are dedicated to that, and I appreciate it.
Go back through and just pick. All right, I'm gonna pick choice 11111, and then 11112.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's crazy.
And the first time in the quest when I did, what was it, Letho's quest, when he came back, and you haven't played the second one, so you don't know who Letho is. Letho,
the short, muscular dude from the serpent.
Yeah, bald.
Yeah,
that's Letho.
Yeah, he was the one who killed the king
in the second one.
Yeah.
However, you can let him survive, and if you transfer your save data like I did, he will carry over into that game.
He carried over in my file.
Oh, yeah, you can choose that too. In the very beginning when you're getting interrogated by Nilfgaard.
Oh, that's right, because I was just picking answers. I'm like, I don't know who any of these people are or what happened.
Yeah, Letho's thing, if you step in and try to save him, you screw him over. Standing back and just watching him get killed is actually the best way to do it, because he takes a poison, he takes a potion that he appears dead, but he's still alive actually.
In the third game?
Yeah, in the third game. But if you like stand in the way and fight, they're still gonna hunt me down. They're gonna kill me one day. But if you stand back and let everything happen when he says, like, let me handle this.
I honestly don't remember what I did in my file.
So if you let him handle it, he dies. And then the leftover guy's like, all right, we killed him. Let's cut his head off. And you're like, just take the medallion. You just killed my dude. Take the medallion. That'll be proof enough. Let me bury him. And they were like, all right. So they take the medallion. And then Geralt takes him away to a house, and he's sitting there, and he's like, I smell something. And he finds out he took a potion that he would appear dead, but he would still be alive enough. And then he wakes him up, and he's like, thanks for helping me. I'm going to help you out at Kaer Morhen. But if you don't do that and step in, he's like, they're still on my trail. I got to go hide again now.
Maybe I did that then, because he definitely helped me at Kaer Morhen.
Yeah. Yeah,
he showed up to help, so...
Yeah, and there's different variations of you can do that, but that's how I did it. And he was like, yeah, I'll see you, Kaer Morhen, buddy. I actually like Letho. Letho's okay. And here we are talking about The Witcher again. Okay.
It's just an endless cycle.
Yeah, it's an endless cycle. Fill out your bingo cards, everybody. All right. Thanks for listening. Always appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And stay safe out there. We'll see you in the next episode.